Mikaeus The Unhallowed is back in Commander Masters, more affordable than ever. Some degenerates, some real monsters out there thinking of making a commander deck around this animal, and we're here to get you the best combos around, brother. Okay, hang on, let's pause for a second. We're going to take a moment and appreciate this monster. Mikaeus The Unhallowed first debuted in 2012. Prior to his second career as a heartless zombie, Mikaeus Siccani was the Lunarch, the #1 big priest in the Church of Avicen, dude. He was Italiano, Sessani, Spaghetti, Manicotti. So yeah, man, Geralf and Gisa, they're fighting over the city of Thraben, and Mikaeus is supposed to help out, but he's like, hey, listen, man, I gotta go read a book, dude. So he went in his study, started reading a book. He designated Thalia as the defender of Thraben. So anyways, man, Geralf found him in there in his study, stabbed the dude right in the neck, cut out his heart, and gave it to Gisa as some kind of, April Fool's present or something, dude. Gisa is a really cool commander in her own right, but I'm not going into that today. I do like her crazy eyes, though. Who can resist that? So anyways, man, Liliana brought this poor fella back from the dead in an attempt to track down Grizzlebrand. I don't know what the heck she was thinking. So here we are, dude. Mikaeus is reprinted and down to about $7. This is an incredible price for this card. It was $30 to $50 for most of its tenure as a magical card, brother. $7 is a fantastic deal for this powerhouse. Now listen, man, I'm going to go through some art here, brother. Let's break that down before we get into the combos. But before we do all that, gently tickle the like and subscribe buttons, okay? Don't go elbowing the buttons, dude. Don't go out there doing Muay moves that you saw in Street Fighter on the dang buttons, all right? Take it easy, press them in once. All right, let's take a look at the original art here. Chris Ron is a monster, dude. And you have Mikaeus just ambling out of the tomb over there like Lazarus with a majestic hat, dude. Looks like some patients I see sometimes in the nursing home. That's how you tell how important somebody is, dude, what their hat looks like. The Pope has a huge hat, you know what I'm saying? The cracked staff of Avicen is kind of emblematic of the defaced, broken faith that cracked when Avicen was imprisoned. Then we have the Livia Prima version, a more realistic portrayal of the man himself, front and center, pondering a purple orb, dude. I don't know who that lady is in the background, probably Mikaeus' ex-wife trying to pay back all the divorce attorneys. She was trying to get that orb, dude, but Mikaeus got that in the divorce, man. He bought the orb, he brought it into the marriage fair and square. So listen, she's got that emblematic broken staff. And all jokes aside, I love this art. I picked up a copy for some of my decks, and I even have a playmat of this art. Then you have this anomaly right here. It's kind of a sloppy Mikaeus after eating strawberry cheesecake, which is canonically his favorite dessert. You put the strawberries on top, the jellied strawberries, dude, you can't beat that. I think some of the strength of the two prior arts is the settings that serve to contextualize the zombie himself, dude. When you strip that away, it just looks funky, and the character is kind of reduced a little bit, you know what I mean? Just that plain background doesn't do it any justice. It's just my opinion though, dude. Who cares what I think? Some of these profile full art style cards work really well, some don't. Whatever, man. What does the card do? Well, it's a 3 black legendary creature zombie cleric 5/5 with Intimidate. Whenever a human deals damage to you, destroy it. Other non-human creatures you control get +1/+1 and have Undying, dude. So whenever a creature with Undying dies, if it had no +1/+1 counters on it, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control with a +1/+1 counter on it. Lots of text, 3 black pips. This is a crazy reanimator target and a crazy card in a zombie deck. I've used this to great effect in the 99 as a zombie enabler in my Verena deck. Listen, we cast Grey Merchant, right? Or we reanimate it or whatever, and we have this ETB effect. Listen, we sacrifice it, it comes back with Undying, and we get that crazy ETB trigger again, brother. And listen, man, that's probably going to drain the whole table out if you have enough devotion to black. That's what Mikaeus can do, but that's just the tip of the iceberg, my friends. Now, Mikaeus has a number of 2-card combos, and the first involves Triskelion, right? Triskelion is a construct that has 3 scallions, which are pretty close to the sharp and deadly scallions of the magic universe. So if this thing has at least 3 +1/+1 counters on it, activate Triskelion by removing the +1/+1 counter from it, deal 1 damage to any target. Repeat step 1 until there are 2 +1/+1 counters remaining on it. Activate it by removing a +1/+1 counter from Triskelion, dealing 1 damage to itself. Repeat step 3 an additional time, it dies, it comes back with the Undying trigger, you rinse and repeat, dude. It's also a 2-card combo with Walking Ballista, and Walking Ballista is just a crossbow with legs, brothers, and that's terrifying. So you activate Walking Ballista's last ability by removing a +1/+1 counter from it, dealing 1 damage to itself. Walking Ballista dies, triggering its Undying ability, returning it from the graveyard to the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it, rinse and repeat. Now these are fantastic target combos with Mikaeus in the command zone. There are some other combos that require a little more setup, and let's chat about some sacrifice outlets, right? And you're thinking to yourself, maybe you're a new Magic player and you're like, I don't want to sacrifice my creatures, right? I want them to live forever in a field of wildflowers, frolicking in pure bliss, dude. But this is a dark fantasy zombie deck, brother. You gotta kill your creatures, you dingus. Alright, the good Lord Mark Rosewater gave us 3 altars, the unholy trinity of sacrifice outlets. You got Ashnod's altar out there, 3 generic mana for an artifact, sacrifice a creature, add colorless. This combos with a bunch of stuff outside of Mikaeus, including Pitiless Plunderer and Reassembling Skeleton. Now listen, this is a mana ability. It cannot be responded to, does not use the stack. There are some interesting ways you can abuse this. You can get rid of creatures prior to triggers resolving with them still on the stack. If they have Undying, that means they're going to pop back in prior to whatever trigger is on the stack as well. Same thing with Phyrexian Altar, 3 generic mana for an artifact, sacrifice a creature, add 1 mana of any color. This combos very nicely with Gravecrawler, dude, when Mikaeus is out there or another zombies on the battlefield. With the Undying trigger, you can generate infinite mana as well. And the third altar is Altar of Dementia, 2 generic mana for an artifact, sacrifice a creature, target player mills cards equal to the sacrificed creature's power. This combos crazily with Mikaeus and persist creatures, right? You sacrifice whatever it is, say Putrid Goblin because that's the cheapest one. Activate Altar of Dementia by sacrificing Putrid Goblin. It dies, triggering its persist and undying abilities. Resolve the persist trigger, returning it from your graveyard to the battlefield with a -1/-1 counter on it. Then you resolve the undying trigger and it does nothing. Resolve the Altar of Dementia's ability, causing target player to mill cards equal to Putrid Goblin's power. Activate Altar of Dementia by sacrificing the Goblin again. It dies, triggering its undying ability, returning it from your graveyard to the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it. Blah blah blah. Resolve the Altar of Dementia ability, causing target player to mill cards equal to its power. Activate Altar of Dementia by sacrificing it. It dies, triggering its persist ability, returning it from the graveyard to the battlefield with a -1/- counter on it. And then you repeat from step 5. Pretty easy to pull off with any free sack outlet, including stuff like Carrion Feeder and Viscera Seer. These guys are cheap and they go ham with any persist creatures as well. Then there are some creatures that come into play with a -1/-1 counter on it that interact with Mikaeus' undying ability in a unique way. Listen brother, if you get a +1/+1 counter and a -1/-1 counter on a creature at the same time, they cancel each other out and they disappear. Bet you didn't know that, huh? There are a few creatures like this, but let's take a look at the old Plague Belcher as our emblematic -1/-1 counter creature. Look at this beast, dude. It's 2 and a black for a creature, zombie beast. It's a 5/4 with menace. When it enters the battlefield, put 2 -1/-1 counters on target creature you control. Whenever another zombie you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life, which is a nice payoff. And listen man, say you can get Blasting Station out there. It's 3 generic mana for an artifact, tap, sacrifice a creature, it deals 1 damage to any target. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield, you can untap this stupid gosh darn thing. So you sacrifice Plague Belcher, it comes back with Mikaeus' Undying ability and untaps Blasting Station. The +1/+1 counter cancels out the -1/-1 counters you gotta put on it, well one of them anyway, that you put on the Plague Belcher, then you're ready to sacrifice it again. The +1/+1 counter's gone, it comes back again, just rinse and repeat, blast everybody right in their reproductive organs. Let's take a look at Yawgmoth Thran Physician, 2 black for a legendary creature, human cleric. It's a 2/4 and he's a beautiful boy. He's got protection from humans as well. Pay 1 life, sacrifice another creature, put a -1/-1 counter on up to 1 target creature and draw a card. Also has another ability that we don't care about right now. Now wait a second, this guy's a human. Well who cares, dude? It puts -1/-1 counters on a creature so it can get Undying again when you sacrifice it. Pair this with another black creature and Ayara and Mikaeus and see what happens. So what you do is you activate Yawgmoth by paying 1 life and sacrificing Ayara, targeting any other non-token, non-human creature you control. Ayara dies, triggering its Undying ability, returning it from your graveyard to the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it. And then Ayara enters the battlefield, causing each opponent to lose 1 life and you gain 1 life. Resolve the Yawgmoth ability from step 1, putting a -1/-1 counter on the other creature and causing you to draw a card, dude. Activate Yawgmoth by paying 1 life and sacrificing the additional creature targeting Ayara. That creature dies, triggers its Undying ability, returning it from the graveyard to the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it. If the creature was black, it enters the battlefield, triggering Ayara, causing each opponent to lose 1 life and you gain 1 life. Resolve the Yawgmoth ability, putting a -1/-1 counter on Ayara, causing you to draw a card, rinse and repeat. Yawgmoth is a really interesting include because you need some way to gain life off these creatures popping in and out. You need a couple of these creatures. Grey Merchant and Asphodel can accomplish this, or any number of aristocrats like Zulaport Cutthroat or Blood Artist. Aristocrats are an excellent way to capitalize on all these creatures dying and getting loot back in. And speaking of which, don't forget Geralf's Messenger. So black, black, black for a creature zombie, it's a 3/2. This guy enters the battlefield tapped, don't really care. When Geralf's Messenger enters the battlefield, target opponent loses 2 life, has Undying. If you have a way to remove the counter, like Yawgmoth or whatever, you can sacrifice this guy and drain the table, dude. I like this card. Combos nicely with Ashnod's Altar and Nim Deathmantle for a full drain. You gotta clean that drain, dude, but let's talk about Nim Deathmantle. 2 generic mana for an artifact equipment. When an equipped creature gets +2/+2, has Intimidate, and is a black zombie. Whenever a non-token creature is put into your graveyard from the battlefield, you may pay 4. If you do, return that card to the battlefield and attach Nim Deathmantle to it, has equipped for 4. With Ashnods, this is a combo machine, dude. Sacrifice from a non-token creature on the altar, add 2 colorless. If Mikaeus is out and that creature has Undying, then it pops back in with Undying. Sacrifice it on the altar again and pay the 4 to bring it back with Nim Deathmantle's trigger, dude. It's insane with Mikaeus. I also wanted to mention Cinderhaze Wretch, dude. This is a 4 and a black for a creature elemental shaman. It's a 3/2. Has tap, target player discards a card, activate only during your turn, but more importantly, put a -1/-1 counter on it, untap it. This guy has had only 1 printing in Shadowmoor, dude, which is a fantastic set. But that second ability can be activated if the Wretch is already untapped. It doesn't matter. Just add a couple counters, let it die, and it comes back with Undying and a +1/+1 counter. Add a few more -1/-1 counters, cancel the +1/+1 out, and it dies. Come back with Undying, generates infinite death and ETB triggers that you can use to capitalize on our aristocrats or our sacrifice outlets that make infinite mana or mill. Anyways, man, there's lots of shenanigans you can get into with Mikaeus The Unhallowed, including generic mono black stuff as well. You can stick in the old Blood Bond combo or whatever you want. I don't care, dude. That's Mikaeus. It's cheaper than ever and still incredibly powerful after all these years. This guy's also great in the 99 of some of these decks as well. It can be built cheaper than ever. The most expensive card here is Phyrexian Altar, and that's down to around $16 right now. So fill this deck out with control elements, aristocrats, and tutors, and you have a relatively powerful commander deck that can sit at mid to high power tables, dude. If you're running Mikaeus in combos, just tell everybody first so that they can bring out their big guns too, because make no mistake, this is a powerful commander. I think it's somewhat balanced out by the high mana value and being mono black, but you can be the judge of that. Anyways, man, get outside today. There's no need for you to be sitting inside watching YouTube, watching whatever dark web craziness you're into, dude. Just go see the clouds, brother. Look outside, look at the sky, man. You might see some aliens. Sneaky G from Better Commander signing off.